and that we have an obligation to each other to leave no one behind, to give hate no safe harbor. It's up to all of us to preserve and protect the very idea of America. You know, we're unique in America and world history. We're the only nation founded on an idea. Every other nation in the world is founded on geography, ethnicity, race, religion.
Can we stop there a minute? Marxism is an idea. There's a lot of nations that have been founded on Marxism. But anyway, go ahead.
Think about it. The idea was we hold these truths to be self-evident. But all men and women are created equal in the image of God, deserve to be treated equally throughout their life. We've never fully lived up to it, but we've never walked away from it. Actually, that's not what the Declaration says, and I don't know what you mean we never fully lived up to it. You are a disgusting reprobate. You walk into the Senate, you side with the segregationists and the racists, and then you attack your fellow citizens that we never lived up to it. I don't even know what that means, we never lived up to. We fought a civil war to end slavery. That's how the Republican Party was founded, to fight the Democrat Party, the slavery party. We had civil rights battles throughout the history of this country. The latest in the 50s and 60s into the 70s, led by the black churches in the South, not by the white liberal Democrats in the North. And we're so good at equality now, we've moved on to equity. We don't even talk about equality anymore. We talk about equity. Civil rights Marxism. I'm so sick and tired of this old coot going around, yammering away, trashing our country, undermining our democracy, a.k.a. republicanism, and then going around and making the comments that he makes. Now, I want to delve into some issues here. The Speaker of the House will be on the program in the third hour. He's requested to come on, and I'm going to give him an airing. I also want to talk about who are the conservatives? What is the conservative movement? Are they effective? Are they actually getting anything done? What are they getting done? I know they go on TV a lot. I know they go on the radio a lot. Tell us what they would do and what we should do, and I respond to each one of them. I get many of them texting me. Okay. Well, if these things can be done, why aren't we doing them? It's the leadership's problem. Oh, okay. It's the leadership's problem. No, it's not so simple as that. 1,000 ideas. Everybody has ideas. You ever sit at a dinner table and you have an uncle or somebody, or you hear somebody say, I've got an idea for X, Y, Z. Do you ever say, okay, so why don't you put it into action? Well, this rule and this guy and all this is going on and this one won't listen to me. These are losers. Losers. I grew up in the era of statesmen. And we knew statesmen when we saw them. And we fought like hell for Ronald Reagan in the 1976 primary, and we lost. Then we fought like hell in 1980. I was a very young guy in Pennsylvania. Then we won. By today's standard, Reagan would be a moderate, maybe even a liberal. But he wouldn't be a loser. Massively grew the economy, massively slashed taxes, massively increased defense spending, destroyed the Soviet Union. Pretty good record, and I'm just getting started. But he didn't get everything he wants. That's for sure. He wanted to slash spending. He did everything he could, but he couldn't stop it. He stopped some of it. In fact, he stopped a lot of it. But he couldn't stop all of it. And I'll get to that later. Spiridon, a friend of mine, I get attacked when I say we ought to defend our allies and we ought to send them arms so they can defend themselves as well. That now is the definition, apparently, of a warmonger.
No, it's not. Just because we have our own factions and our own mobs who insist on it doesn't make it true. The vast majority of the American people want us to have the strongest defense on the face of the earth. The vast majority of the American people do not support Vladimir Putin against the Ukrainians. The vast majority of the Americans do not support Communist China against Taiwan. The vast majority of Americans, over 80%, the last survey, do not support Iran and the Islamo-Nazis against Israel. The vast majority of the American people are smart. They have common sense. They love their country. And they know there's evil. There's enemies out there, whether it's Marxists or Islamists or whatever ists they call themselves. Evil doesn't take a break. Evil doesn't go away. Evil doesn't care if we have a ceasefire. We back off. We pull in our trunk. They don't care. We've only tried that repeatedly in this country, and it led to World War II. The Japanese attacking Pearl Harbor, way far away. Oh, Hawaii, so far away. Wasn't even a state. What's the problem? It's so far away. Here we are in the United States of America, continental America. Churchill. They talk about his years in the wilderness. 1930s, for 10 years. He was ignored by the establishment. He was ignored by fellow conservatives. In fact, worse, he was mocked. And he studied Germany. He studied 18th century, first Duke of Marlborough, his uncle, and the battles that took place. He studied German militarism. And he warned to anybody who would listen, which was nobody, when the Third Reich came on the scene, he warned them. This is war. He's a warmonger. I guess back then they might have even called him a neocon, a globalist. Germany was building up its military machine. He warned them. He said, this is aimed at us. No. Germany wouldn't think about it. They're too weak. There's too many countries that they would have to invade in order to get to our island nation. Nobody's going to touch our island nation. We have the canal. It's getting worse. He warned his fellow Brits again. We must prepare for war. Now. They dismissed him. Just easier to dismiss him. Besides, it's very expensive, We have to balance our budget and all kinds of stuff. He said, no. Prepare for war. War is coming. And whether we like it or not. Even when he was eventually chosen as prime minister, he was the default choice. The default choice. They didn't rally around him. Neville Chamberlain's appeasement failed. Diplomacy, as Biden calls it in Blinken. Diplomacy. Churchill said, you don't understand the mindset. You don't understand the mindset of the Germans, he said. Biden doesn't understand the mindset of the Islamist terrorists. Or the Marxist Chinese. He doesn't get the mindset. Diplomacy is something to use as a tool against your enemies, we being the enemy. You know who is a student of Churchill, who's read everything he can get his hands on, who's talked to some of the historians that have written the best books about Churchill, many of whom are no longer with us? Netanyahu. He's effectively a Churchill historian, self-taught. And by the way, brilliant man. He went to MIT, master's degree. I'm not talking about that. He's very familiar with Churchill. Biden's not familiar with anything. Many people who attack me have no knowledge whatsoever of history. Zero. Only 80 years ago, 90 years ago, American history and the lead up to World War II. They don't have the foggiest idea. But they've learned slogans, I'm embarrassed to say. Warmonger, neocon, Zionist. They've learned slogans. And yet when the history books are written, it's going to be about those citizens, you, who stand up to this and say no. No. China is doing what China is doing because they want to destroy us. Russia's doing what Russia is doing because they want to destroy us. Iran and the Islamists are doing what they're doing overseas and in our own country because they want to destroy us. And here we dither over the speakership. "500 years from now, nobody's going to know what a speaker is. They're certainly not going to know who all these folks are who are going to remove the next speaker and have a debate over this statute and that statute, and we tied it to this and we tied it to that, and I told them what to do and they won't listen to what I said." I ask every one of these guys, truly, because I want to support them. If you're right, why can't you get it done? Nobody will listen to me. Well, then that's a problem. That's your problem. That's what a statesman is all about. Leading and persuading, not whining and complaining. And I've had about enough of it. That's not how I grew up under a father and a mother. Get off your backside and do something about it. Don't keep complaining and whining. These are the great men and women of history. Fill in the blank wouldn't let me do it. I don't understand. If these ideas are so good and they're so strong, why can't you get people to support you? Why can't you get anything done? Because right now, we conservatives are getting nothing done. Zero. And we're pointing fingers all over the place. And to expect the American people to rally around us with such a record, with such statements, with such commentary is absurd. Churchill's campaign against appeasement. Cambridge University Press. For much of the decade prior to 1940, Churchill was out of the office and often seen as a warmonger. That was the reputation that they projected upon him. He hated war. He'd been in wars. He fought in wars. He hated it. But that doesn't mean you pretend it's not building. And that doesn't mean we pretend it's not building against us. And when you wait too late, the consequences are dire. And in the modern era, with new technologies and weapons that can literally blow up the planet, dithering is not an answer. Churchill's sole appeasement is a policy not befitting a country of Britain, stating that they failed to take account of innate German militarism. Innate German militarism. Innate Communist Chinese militarism. Innate Russian militarism. Innate Islamo-Nazi Islamist militarism. All three of them are staring us in the face.